this is Global Digest think tank group.
I worked for 6 years in the public sector here in Argentina.
Okay.
Now I'm working in the private sector.
So what is your company? What is your background? Why don't you introduce a little bit more to our audience?
Well, I'm a political analyst from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I worked in the public sector in the protocol office of the Ministry of Education in Argentina. The protocol office in Argentina has a strong hallmark due to the importance of the public events, especially in Peronism, with invoking the masses to participate in institutional events with the politicians. But yeah, that allowed me to get a background of people that are of all political forces and different parts of the world. And now I'm doing the same position, not as institutional and public speaking, but more in the education sector. So my approach that was in public policy, now I'm working in the private sector, but I'm also working as a political independent consultant for clients in New York, in Dubai, in Africa, in different parts of the world, providing them with a political analysis of different countries, especially for investors from all the world.
And I don't know much about geopolitics of Argentina. You are democracy, right? You are.
Yeah, correct. We are a democracy. Well, Argentina, for our audience to know, is a country that got back its democracy in 1983 with the return of democracy after 8 years of dictatorship, rough dictatorship with 30,000 Argentinians which were disappeared and their babies were stolen by the dictatorship and given to the militaries, to military families. That gave to a process of memory of trying to make the families get back together. That's one of the hallmarks of our democracy. That's called the institution, and we call Abuelas of Plaza de Mayo, the grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo. That it's the main square in Buenos Aires, Plaza de Mayo, or Mayo Square. They walked around the hallmark of the city in the Mayo Square, claiming for their children to return and to their families to get back together. In Argentina, we are 40 years of uninterrupted democracy.
Uninterrupted 40 years is very.
Yeah, it's quite important for a country like us, because in the 20th century we had like five coup d'etat that make democracy fall and start all over again for 5 times. So 40 years of uninterrupted democracy is something important. But
right.
What has happened today in the recent events for our audience to know, especially because our audience is mainly Asian, might not know what has happened. Argentina has always polarized between two political movements, Peronism and anti-Peronism. Peronism is like popular nationalism. It's popular nationalism which includes some distributionist policies, which also combines distributionist policies with national capitalism, with national industry, with promoting private industrial sector, especially because in the industrial sector produces labor forces, more work for workers, and a more integrated society. What's the problem with this model now? That it's getting deteriorated, especially with the welfare state, and with the new technologies. This model of economy is being deteriorated because the model doesn't adapt to the present days. This problem has caused the birth of a strong anti-Peronism and other political forces, especially from the right. the Argentinian spectrum is not right or left, it's Peronism, anti-Peronism. That's something that people get to understand, because it's not left or right like in Chile, for example, or in Brazil, that it's left or right more clearly. In Argentina, sometimes Peronism is right wing or sometimes it's left wing, and the opposition moves towards the opposite of Peronism. That's something that we have to get clear, because Peronism is like the main political force that orders the political cleavage in Argentina.
So you Argentina usually more engage with USA or engage with China or engage with Russia?
Well, that depends, especially that will depend especially on the political moment. For example, in the 1990s, Carlos Menem, which was the Turkish related, he was a second generation of Turkish immigrants in Argentina, of Libyan immigrants in Argentina. But we in Argentina, we call him there's a generalization in Argentina that everyone who came from the Ottoman Empire are called the Turkish, despite they are not Turkish.
Right.
Carlos Menem was the president, a neoliberal president, and he was Peronist. He was a right-wing Peronist, and he proposed carnal relations with the US. It was the best times of a US-Argentina relationship that coincide with the fall of the Berlin Wall. So Argentina had no option rather to align with the US. But for example, with Cristina Kirchner, and especially with Cristina Kirchner, that is the last strong Peronist president. She's a woman. The relation was more with China, with Russia, and with the new more multipolar world. And why is that? Because Argentina in that moment had enough resources to not to depend from U.S. foreign debt and the IMF. So Cristina Kirchner was able, with the soybean exports to Asia casually to China, Cristina Kirchner had a strong boom in exports, especially from commodities like soybean, that allowed her to get a lot of hard currency and US dollars, which she used to get popular support by public spending. So how we get to today? Today, the public spending was so high, and Cristina Kirchner recreated a new welfare state in the 21st century, similar to the first welfare state which Peronism created with President Juan Perón created in the 1940s. She resembled that welfare state in the 21st century with a big public spending. What's the problem with that public spending? That the soybean commodities didn't sustain the price for the time to sustain that public spending. So the economy needs to do a massive adjustment in the spending, and no one is willing to do it, because Argentina has another problem. It's not a problem, it's a characteristic. Argentinians are really, it's a civil society that it's really mobilized. When people are, it's in that sense, it's similar to France. When people don't like the public policy, they go to the streets and they protest, and protest gets hard, and there's usually violence in the streets. No one wants to do the massive adjustment in the economy by reducing the public spending, because they don't want riots in the streets. That's the fine equilibrium we're living right now. And as no one is doing the massive adjustment, inflation gets higher and higher and higher and higher. And as no one did this massive adjustment, the inflation got even higher and even higher and even higher, and this year is going to reach 150% yearly.
It's a lot,
so,
right?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's almost unbearable to live, and that desperation of society.
You can sell soya beans again to China, so they can earn more hard currency.
No, we still sell the soybeans to China,
not enough anymore. It's not enough.
No, we still do it. We still do it, but the thing is, it's not as expensive as it was.
You need more money.
The ton of soybean is not as expensive as it was in the beginning of the 21st century.
So you need more money, right?
Yeah, there's the need of more money. The previous administration of Mauricio Macri got a massive debt, the biggest debt to the IMF in history, that it's $45 million, $45,000 million to the IMF that we are not paying. So we have massive debt, massive need for adjustment, and a massive adjustment like that will push people to massive poverty.
Some people
So how we reach today, that is what I'm interested to explain. That inflation and that lack of future that people are seeing make the population angry, make the citizens really angry with the governments, really angry with the Kirchner governments, really angry with Peronism, and really angry with the previous administration, Mauricio Macri, Macrism. So there's a really populist, alt-right populist movement in Argentina, like Bolsonaro in Brazil, like Donald Trump in the US, like Giorgia Meloni in Italia, like well, the new builders in the Netherlands. So there's a alt-right populist movement in Argentina that's called the libertarians. These libertarians promise to bring the state down, bring public spending down, destroy the public spending by the campaign was with a chainsaw, with a chainsaw, with a chainsaw, moving the chainsaw everywhere, promising to cut the public spending with a chainsaw.
People want a leader who make more money, right? Who can make more money in Argentina.
The proposal of this candidate is to reduce public spending, to reduce the state massively, and by that dollarizing the economy. There's another idea that is to dollarize the economy, like El Salvador, like Ecuador, like other economies in the world. But the thing is, Argentina is a country which exports commodities, so we cannot have costs in US dollars, because it makes the cost higher, and it makes you less competitive with other clients in the region.
Right.
So Argentina is in that moment, the libertarian president Javier Milei, which has won the election, he will take position in this Sunday. Javier Milei promised to dollarize the economy and reduce public spending massively.
Let's see your leader, how much he will be attractive for the population, and what can he do. Let's see. And one thing, Argentina geopolitics, I don't know, the islands, the Falkland Islands, is a dispute between British and Argentina. Who is still control Falkland? Is British or Argentina?
Well, today is British control. After the invasion in 1982 from Argentina, the situation was more in a tie, in a geopolitical tie between Argentina and the British. After the invasion was completely British and completely militarized. So that's how the British get the influence in the southern sea, and crossing from the Atlantic to the Pacific. That's what geopolitically the idea. Javier Milei, the new president, proposes to bring back the sovereignty to the British. So if the islanders want to be British, they should be British, because it's what they want. So yeah, at a popular stance, because Malvinas Malvinas is a national cause. Malvinas is a national cause. People tend to be against that position.
I mean, the Icelander, the population, they speak English, or they speak
They speak English. They speak
Then
English.
the important thing is also the consent of the people. Your president cannot force them without their consent. So if they want to remain in British, it will be difficult for Argentina. We took it back, but if they're willing to stay with Argentina, it may be, easy to took it again.
Yeah,
So
there's
that
also a debate there because
is
it's implanted population. They are not local. The locals were expelled when the British invaded in 1833. But yeah, it's difficult to get them back as a national territory.
so you need to talk with the population in the Iceland too, because they are there, so they have to say something. So you should tell. And one
No,
thing,
they reject quite aggressively the Argentinian influence. They are really aggressive with that. So it's really hard to do it democratically. To be honest, I mean, there's no way that the Falklands, the Malvinas, because it's the real name, the Argentinian name, the Malvinas,
I
become
see,
Argentinians by a democratic way because you need to directly invade as the dictatorship because it was the last dictatorship which invaded the islands with an idea of getting popularity in a politically hard moment. So the dictatorship invaded to get popularity before the final end of the dictatorship, which was in 1983. A year after the war, the dictatorship fall apart, and Margaret Thatcher, which was in a hard place politically and in her popularity, was massively popular after the war because she won.
I see. So let's see. It's more important. You have to speak heart to heart. Not by gun. It seems you said Malvina Islands in Argentina or Falkland in English. The the population in the islands need, somebody who will touch their heart, I guess. If you speak heart to heart, they will feel they will closer with you. And if you use gun, they may not close to you. It's
No. I'll be honest. I
but
mean, there's no way to do it democratically. So yeah, it's a problem. It's really similar. It's quite similar. Even Xi Jinping did this parallelism in a moment with the Taiwan situation. I mean, China reclaims
I
the Taiwan island as a sovereign territory because of tradition, of imperial heritage, and historic reasons, but the population doesn't want to become Chinese. So
right. That is the
it's
issue.
quite a similar situation. Even Xi Jinping said it once when against the British, when the British were giving aid to the Hong Kong island, to the Hong Kong citizens after the problem which of the protests. So Xi Jinping did that parallelism and said if Hong Kongers are British, the Malvinas should be Argentinians then. So there's
Right,
a similarity with the Taiwanese issue.
right. Here is also issue. China, Taiwan,
Yeah, I know, I know.
Argentina.
But especially as our main as our audience tends to be more from Asia, it's like some example for everyone to understand what we're
Right,
talking about.
right. I also interest one thing in Argentina is, Argentina caught in Buenos Aires. There was a Burmese case, Rohingya Muslim. They submit, case to the court in Buenos Aires in Argentina. It's Burmese military abuse, human rights violation, crime against humanity upon Rohingya population in Burma. So they complain, they file a case in Argentina court. It's in Buenos Aires. I don't know if you ever hear the case or not. It's in the federal
I
criminal.
think
You are in Buenos Aires?
Buenos Aires, yeah. I mean Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires, that's capital of Argentina.
Yeah, precisely.
So, I mean, the case from Burma, they submit their complaint case to another country in Argentina to find justice in Argentina. I don't know how is the process going on and how is the Argentina court made.
Well, probably that's because Argentina has a tradition in human rights. Argentina, due to
they support human
Argentina,
rights.
Yeah, has a tradition in human rights, especially after the dictatorship, and what I previously said about the violations in human rights in the dictatorship. And Argentina, for our audience to know also, is what was the first country in the entire world to do a trial against the dictators with natural judges, with judges of democracy. It never happened in the history of the world. Even Nuremberg, they were not natural judges because they were judges imposed by the winning powers, by the Soviet Union, England, and the U.S. and France. So the trials were not as legitimate as the Argentinian trials against the dictators were, because they were judges of democracy. Which judged the dictators and put them into jail for massive human rights violations. And so it was the first jurisprudence example of judging a dictator with the dictator alive and put them back into jail in the world. So that's why Argentina has history in human rights, a tradition in human rights, and that's why internationally it has the respect of international institutions regarding this matter. So probably that's why Argentina was invited to participate in this process.
Right, because Burma is now military government, so dictator government. So I wish Argentina court made justice to the victim of military coup, military government. They not one time, they did several times and many decades. They violate human rights, crime against humanity, abuse the innocent population in Burma. So if Argentina court can support it, well, good. I don't know, Argentina court is British legal system or French?
No. It's a combination with the Spanish political system and with the American political system. Three-branch democracy, but with Spanish institutions that were kept from the colonies. But just we talk about the Burma issue again. Now that you said, we tend to remember the moment of the coup d'etat in Burma, and it was in that moment something we resembled with our coup d'etat in Argentina in 1976, which brought the biggest dictatorship in Argentinian history and the most violent and massively violation of human rights. So let's hope that that our intervention in human rights for Burma is something for the best.
Right. I mean, you did in Argentina, you let them end military government. It's success. But in Burma, we fail to stop military government again and again. This is 2, 3, 4 times they come power again and again. We could not able to stop very hard and difficult military regime in Burma. So Argentina, you have successful.
Argentina had a lot of attempts to finish with the dictatorship many times, because it was and 7 years democracy. It lasted for 7 years, but before you had other 4 coup d'etats. But 7 years of dictatorship with you take into consideration that Argentinian dictatorship had the World Cup in Argentina that Argentina won.
Right.
So the popularity of the government was massive in that moment, and everyone thought that the dictator was going to stay forever.
Right.
When the economy started to crumble in the second part of the dictatorship, the people went massively to the streets against the dictatorship, and the dictatorship used the Malvinas War. They invaded Malvinas to reach more levels of popularity, as they did with the World Cup that they won. But as they lost the war, their popularity got even worse than before, and they finally gave the government to a democratic. And also, just to take in consideration, Argentina was the first country in Latin America to leave the dictatorship system and coming back again to democracy. It was the first country in the region, before Chile, before Brazil, before Uruguay, before all the others in the southern cone, especially. In the northern cone, like Venezuela, they were a democracy for since 1958 until, well, not until today, but until Chavismo.
I don't know. Argentina, most population are Christian or Muslim or Buddhist or which religion?
The massive
Catholic.
Argentina is a strange place where religious conflicts are like they do not happen. For example, I live in a neighborhood with a strong and high level of Jewish population, and there are also a lot of
You are also
Arabs.
Jewish?
No. I'm
not Jewish.
I'm an atheist, but I have a Christian formation. Mainly, the population in general, it's all Christian. But there's a lot of combination of different religions in Argentina, as immigration brought people from all the world. The western part of the country, near the Andes Mountains, tend to be more of the Middle East. There are a lot of Muslims in that space. Carlos Menem, that I told you, the neoliberal president who came from a Libyan heritage, was from that part of the world. There are also a lot of Jewish population. Argentina has the biggest Jewish population after the US and after Israel in the world. So it's one of the biggest Jewish communities in the world. Really? There is also a mosque in the same neighborhood that I told you that I live in Buenos Aires. There's a mosque in the middle of the neighborhood with a Jewish population, with a big Jewish population. So in this context, this country has the benefit that religious and ethnic conflicts tend to be like reduced. We don't have like a big explanation for that.
We have a lot.
It happens.
We have a lot of
people,
ethnic conflict, religious conflict, and now a lot of Christians are persecuted, churches are destroyed, innocent people were killed by military government in Burma, and I don't know. You said Christian in Argentina, they are Protestant or Catholic?
No, Catholic. The Pope is Argentinian.
Recently there was war. A lot of Catholic church also destroyed. They bomb, they shoot the artillery to those people. So I want Argentina court should support for justice for those victims.
The Pope is Argentinian, Francisco or Francis. So probably he's going to claim for the Christians in Burma that are suffering the persecution. Right. And also, as Argentina is the meddling in this situation of human rights in Burma, probably is going to claim also for that.
Right. I see. So
more in the private sector, as I told you, I work with logistics, with politicians here in Argentina, but mainly I'm working on that right now.
Right.
So in the private sector.
especially for company and business leader. Of course,
Exactly.
like NGO, INGO, you can do consultation like private
Of
sector,
course.
like social related NGO. Religious also you can do consulting.
Of course, anything of consultation in Argentina or a global stage, I'm open completely to help anyone that's needing that.
Right.
And in Latin American affairs also.
So your consultation is your free consulting or you charge for
No, no,
consultation?
I worked as on that. It's my income.
So how did you charge? How much you take money if they get consultation from your
That
office?
depends. That depends, especially on the
Case by case?
case by case, exactly. On how long it takes and which kind of level of deep the client is needing, but it's mainly tailor made. Again, it really depends on the client. I really would need to see case by case. We are living in a unsettling world that it's changing its rule, and the international order we used to have is falling into pieces. Especially the unipolar world that has been falling apart to and becoming a multipolar world. So in this context, companies, people need information and need to more exchange and more connections around the world, and I can provide those connections for anyone that's needing them to help your business to develop and help your entrepreneurship to develop also.
Thank you, Tobias. Have a good day.
Thank you, John.